All right, what is going on, my dude? So just yesterday, I went through a quick, casual little Zone 25 push for Sector 6. Now, I do this pretty much every single month, so it just became a thing. I think I may have missed 1 month. I got to like Zone 19, got completely roadblocked, and I was like, all right, I'm just not doing it this month, and it was totally fine. But this month, compared to other months, was so incredibly easy. I usually spend about like 800 or so units to 1200 units on revives, right? I spent 0 and still have some left over from the side quest store after this month. And the reason why it was so much easier this month is because there are new rare hacks that were added that last the entirety of the Zone 25 push. Now, let's talk about the side quest a bit before we jump into some of the best options, who I use, strategies I've used, and stuff like that. So here we go. So if you don't know, the Incursions are taking over the side quest this month. There's the typical threat levels 1 through 5, and that's where all of the reward tuning for the side quest month is. So if you don't do this push, you're not really going to be missing out on anything that you aren't always able to get every single month, right? You can do the Zone 25 push every single month. It's just easier this month, right? So, but what we're talking about in this video here is threat level 6, right? It has 25 zones. Zone 1, 4, 8, 12, 16, 18, and 24 are going to have the bosses, which are Vivision and Kate Bishop. Now, I do recommend you do some of the Thronebreaker event quests, especially those 2 chapters where Kate and Viv fight them a few times, really understand how to fight them. They're honestly not too bad once you understand their abilities. They're actually quite simple to fight once you understand their abilities, once you fought them a few times, okay? So I do definitely recommend you do that. You don't want to be going in to fight Kate Bishop for the first time against a 1.5 million health boss in Zone 24 or Zone 18. You really don't. So seriously do that a few times, okay? Now, Zones 1, 4, 8, 12, 16, 18, and 24 will have a boss node before the first fight. These are where the new hacks are going to be in 1, 4, 8, and 12, okay? Now, let's talk about these new hacks briefly, right? And talk about what they do and what the best ones are. So I went ahead and wrote them all down. I rated them on a scale from 1 to 10. Spoiler alert, they're all good, but some of them are absolutely incredible. So, shout out to my buddy Cam, right? Cam on Twitter and on YouTube, Cam MCOC, for making a tweet that was like, just did Zone 25. This hack is unbelievable. So I saw the tweet. I was like, hey, if Cam said it's good, I trust him, right? What I did was, there is a 5-minute cooldown for this month on your champ. So I went in with my team, looked for the hack. If it wasn't there, it's on the first node. Don't do any fights. If it wasn't there, I backed out. Every 5 minutes I did this, I had the worst RNG. It took me about an hour and a half to get the hack. Finally got it. It was worth it. I saw Keep It Going. I said, there we go. What Keep It Going does, every 10 hits in the attacker's combo meter, you're going to put a armor break on the defender. And while this is there, the spirit gauge is going to fill up 2 times as fast. The spirit gauge is pretty much the power meter for your relic. Now, relics, hot topic. I know. I don't love relics. Relics seem to be like pushed on everything nowadays, right? If you're a person who hates relics, please just use them for this month and take them off the champions when you finish your Incursions run. It won't matter if you take them off afterwards, but you really want them on this month because it makes life so much easier. There are 3 things that relics are really good for right now. 1, prestige if you care about prestige. 2, making like really weird, quirky, and interesting champions a lot better when they probably aren't intended to. And number 3, extending combos. And that's what we're using them for here. So when we combine that first hack with the second hack at the ready, the attacking champion spirit gauge starts the match filled, and you gain an unblockable buff for 6 seconds after you use your relic, and the spirit gauge fills up twice as fast when the unblockable hit is landed. So when you combine these 2, you're filling up that spirit gauge so incredibly fast when you're unblockable, when you have a non-damaging debuff on the opponent, and it does stuff like this. So here we are in the final room, right? We're going for the relic, and now we're going to go for the special 2. Look at this. Mid-special 2, the spirit gauge is pretty much filled up, right? So we're going to go for a 5-hit combo. We don't even have a stun extending hack here. Okay, and we're gonna go for the relic again, and now we're gonna go for the special 2 again. We're throwing 35, 50k mediums, but that was like a 500 billion special 2, right? Because we get all the nodes from the Thor relic this was 2 million health. It was done in like 40 seconds, and we're just stun locking here. And this is Hercules isn't the only champion who can do this, right? There's a bunch of champions with stuns on their special 1, on their special 2, so you could probably find a creative way to do this. I'm not going to recommend you go in there at Stark Spidey and stun lock all the way through. He's very squishy. He's very, very squishy, and this is what you're up against in the final room. Do you see how insane this gets? 2 million health and 131,000 attack rating. So when we move on to the champions for this, the list is going to be very, very small. It's not because there aren't good champions in the game. It's because when you get past like zone 15, it starts to get absolutely insane. Not just in attack value and health, but also in node combos. But there are some champions who can really ignore a lot of that stuff, right? Hercules being one of them. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that more after we talk about the rest of the hacks here. So those are the two that I'd find very essential for this run, making getting through 25 zones much, much simpler this month, okay? On top of that, we have all-out effects. Attackers gain 10% increased buff and debuff duration, right? And if you have a relic on, it's going to be 20%. So that's going to count for the stun debuff, right? So that's why it's also really nice to have that one in there, right? It's also going to increase the potency of all reinforcement hacks by 50%. Draining degen. This one's really, really fun. Everybody's seen this, like with the Doc Ock videos and the Dr. Voodoo videos. Super fun. I like that a lot for like pushing through the 12 rooms of Sector 6 or Sector 5. I don't find it as great for pushing through pushing through zone 25, right? I don't really want to be using like Doc Ock, Dr. Voodoo, and like zone 22 of Sector 6 because they are a little bit squishy there. Of course, they could really be good, but I haven't seen people really using them that late in the run. But maybe people will. Like, I know that Infamous Iron Man is absolutely ridiculous with this as well, so maybe he could be really useful for it. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't use this one, right? Because I was more focused on the other strategy, and the two kind of conflict. Proud degeneration. When the attacker lands a final hit of a heavy attack, they get a prowess buff. Prowess is good. They're going to put degen on them as well. This is definitely solid, just some extra damage, right? And all of these, by the way, all of these gain additional effects when you have a relic equipped, so just equip the freaking relic for the incursion run on your main clearer, okay? Alternating enhancement. If you end the combo differently, you're going to gain a prowess buff. That's really solid because prowess makes you hit harder, right? That's great. Armor burst is actually decent. If you have an armor up buff on, you're going to be doing burst damage to the opponent. There are other hacks that give you armor up buffs even if your champion doesn't natively have them. All-out attacks increase the attacker's ability accuracy by a flat 10%. This could be really great for certain RNG-dependent champions. Like, maybe this could be busted, but like Domino or something like that. Not entirely sure. But yeah, that definitely has potential, but I'm not really looking for RNG when I'm going for like a Zone 25 push, if that makes sense. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. Poisonous Truth, you get poison debuffs when you attack the opponent when they're stunned. Okay, and if they have a relic, right, you also gain a True Strike and True Sense buff. That could actually be decent, right? That could certainly be decent for countering evaders. Okay, so before we jump on over to the recommended champions list, I want you to once again take a look at what Zone 25 looks like. Do you see it? 131,000 attack, 2 million HP. Did you watch us go through that entire health pool in 30 seconds while he was regenerating with Prove Yourself on the node? I just want to make sure you saw it, okay? Just want to make sure. These are the champions that I recommend that you use as your main clearers in Zone 25. Okay? Herc, I don't like this dark mode here for this. That's a little bit nicer. Hold on. Okay, now that we spent a few minutes fixing stuff that honestly doesn't matter, here we go. So, Hercules, with the Gallon pre-fight, with the Odin buffs, you could use a 4-star Gallon, you could use a 5-star Gallon, you could use a 3-star Odin, I don't care. Put the buffs on Hercules, so that when you get buff Cornucopia, he goes crazy. Just do it. I don't care what star level you use, okay? I don't care if you're using a 4-star Gallon and you have to do your first fight with a 4-star Gallon, I don't care. Make him a Herald. When you run a Hercules with the Suicide Masteries, he heals like an MFer. This allows you to go into a fight at 1%, and in just a few moments, you're up to 15% health at the start of the fight. This is going to really make it easy on you when you get to the boss node at the end of the room, and you can choose a rare hack instead of having to regen, instead of having to revive, right? Because you can go at 1%, right? You can go at 1%. Now, on top of that, there's one more thing I had to talk about before we jumped into this. Completely forgot. With the rewards this month, right? You do zone 1 through 5 every week, right? And you get like the milestones and stuff. I highly recommend that you use those rewards on these very cheap incursion revives and potions. I recommend that you do it 1 week, and then you do it for the next week. When the potions go into overflow, that's when you do your push. That's what I did. I built it up week 1, and then I bought everything week 2. You can even keep doing that week 2, week 3, week 4, and have a ridiculous amount of revives. And just buy the potions and have the overflow for the last week. It's going to make your life so much easier if you do this and a lot cheaper. I promise you. I went through the entire thing. How many revives did you get? 2, 4, 6, right? So I bought 12. I have a lot left over. So it cost me about like 6 or 7 revives, right? Make of that what you will. It cost me about 6 or 7 revives. Think about how many revives I usually use, and when you look at my list, think about how many revives you usually use, and then adjust accordingly, right? In all seriousness. Because if you sometimes spend 3 times as many as I do, maybe stock up for a few weeks, right? That way you can get through this so much cheaper. It's just, might be the smart thing to do for you. You have that option here to do that, because the incursion revives, you can stock up on all the weeks and you won't go into overflow. So that could definitely make your life a lot easier, okay? So Hercules with Suicides on, with those things, plows through things like it's nobody's business. Kitty, if you're a good Kitty player, especially if you can bring along Tiger as well, is really, really solid for this, especially if you can make her a horseman in early rooms, I should say. Yay! And then there's Thing. Thing at Sig 200. Yay! Right? When I do my normal incursion runs, like every month, these are typically the 3 I use. I usually go in with this team right here. I do my first fight with Gallon. The next fight, I put all 4 pre-fights on, 3 Odins and the Herald for Hercules. I swap out Odin for Apocalypse. I fight a Mutants, right? I swap out Gallon for Kitty. I make Kitty a Horseman, and then I swap out Apocalypse, and I keep that 3rd spot open as support for the whole thing. And then once I get to like zone 18, 19, 20, I usually bring in Thing, and Thing just cheeses everything at Sig 200. You take a blocked hit, you enter protection. You have Suicides on, you're healing from the poison. Kitty Pride, with Suicides on, you're healing from the poison, and you're resistant to the bleed, right? So these 3 with Suicides are very, very good at ignoring nodes, at ignoring attack values, at smashing through health at a very fast rate. Even Thing, if you do it properly, with the hack strategic movement and the one where you do a heavy attack and get the degen, he plows through things as well if you do it properly, okay? So, that being said, this month with these hacks, I didn't use Thing and I didn't use Kitty, because Hercules is so freaking busted with these permanent hacks. He is so busted that if you have Hercules with the relic, oh my god, guys, I just cannot recommend enough that that's what you do. But if you don't have him, and you're a good Kitty player, if you have the Thing, those could be 2 really solid ways to go. Or if you do incursions every month and you have another champion, then do what you always do, but this month's going to be easier for you. That being said, you have 3 slots, and what I did for this month is I used those 2 additional slots as support. And by support, I don't just mean White Magneto, I don't just mean Heimdall, I don't just mean Synergy Champions. When I say support, what we have here is a list of champions to swap in for the boss or for path fights and incursions. Now, some of these champions here are the best champions in the game. Now, this is not to say like, oh, this is not saying like, oh, Quicksilver is not good enough to do incursions all the way. Oh, Spidey is not good enough to do incursions all the way. Oh, Zemo and Kingpin aren't good enough to go all the way through incursions. Oh, Magneto and Archangel aren't good enough to go all the way through incursions. It's not what we're saying at all here, because it's not true. Because in my Zone 25 push, I had Quicksilver in the final room. Why did I have Quicksilver in the final room? Because there was a Thing on the path. I'm not fighting Thing with Hercules. I'm going to fight Thing with someone who can do that, right? So I had that spot open. I looked at my lane. I said, okay, Dragon Man, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Hercules because there's this armor break hack, and well, that's going to really, really hurt if I put an armor break on him. So I guess I'm going to have to go ahead and use Hercules and just kind of smash him down, right? On top of that, sometimes I would do stuff like this. This was zone 24. Here's a Mojo. Here's a 72k medium attack. Here's a 400k special too from Spidey, right? Spidey's kind of nuts in Incursions, man, because there's that hack strategic movement combined with that armor break, and what's happening here is that the Fury buffs are not being consumed from strategic movement. I don't know if this is a bug or not, but this Mojo has 2 million health. We're 30 seconds into the fight, and is already down over 1 million health. Pretty freaking crazy, man. So Spidey kind of goes off. Yes, he's rank 5. But he kind of goes off here, man, with strategic movement. Kind of nutty, right? Kind of nutty. But the point is, sometimes you're going to get to a room and you're going to have like a Sim Supreme boss or a Mojo boss, right? Let's just go with Mojo. And you're going to say, oh, I'm not fighting Mojo with Hercules. Could I? Yeah. Do I want to? No. What I'd have to do is I have to trigger immortality when the anti-life field is not up. That way my immortality doesn't get shrunk. So I'm going to just bring in Spidey. It's going to make my life so much easier. So you got 3 slots. Let's say right now you're working with Hercules, Heimdall. Let's say you have Nimrod, because there was a Toad boss in the last one. Right? You want to just make it easy. You're going to swap out the Nimrod. You're going to bring in Spidey 2099. You're going to use Spidey for the boss. You're going to get to the next room and you're going to evaluate again. Well, now you see Jessica Jones on the path, on the left path. You say, all right, I'm going to go on the right path. What do we got going on the right path? And you look at the nodes and you say, hell no. Guess I got to fight Jessica Jones. I'm going to bring in Zemo, because Zemo's the best champion ever created ever in a million billion years forever, because Zemo's OP. And you're going to say, okay, I'm going to bring in Zemo. You're going to swap out that Spidey. You're going to bring in Zemo. I'm going to use him just for Jessica Jones, and that's it. You got 3 slots. You got 3 slots, and when you're going from room to room, you have to evaluate the best way to get from the beginning to the end. And you want to use your slots strategically, because you have to remember, you can only use all of these champions one time. So you have your main clearer. You have your main clearer, Hercules, Sting, or Kitty Pryde, right? Or anyone else that you use. But you can't expect to use them for every single fight. Those are 3 sustainable champions who can take most fights. But you have to be prepared to swap in your other options. And you have to use them strategically, knowing you can only use them one time per run. So I saved that Quicksilver in case I saw a Sasquatch or a thing. I got to the final room, I said, now's the time. Right? Let's say there is a Terrax in Zone 24. Yeah, you could totally use Hercules, but it's okay. I'm going to bring an Absorbing Man. The Terrax. It's going to make life easier. Right? It's going to make life easier. You get a swap. But here's the thing. If you don't want to do the swap, you get a little hack as well. That makes life that much easier as well. So there are a lot of different ways to do it. Right? There are a lot of different ways to do it. I'm just sharing with you the way I did it. Very efficiently. Almost itemless, to be entirely honest. Every time that I died, it was because I did something stupid. I was having fun and I wanted to do something stupid. And I died. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. I had all the revives. Right? Doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter if you spend 1 billion items, as long as you had fun. That's all that matters here, right? That's all that matters here. You just want to have fun. So, yeah. The most efficient way to go about it, though, in my opinion, Hercules with the Relic, with the Herald, with the Odin buffs, with Suicide Zone, with the Relic, with the Armor Break hack, with the Spirit Gauge hack, and the rest is kind of up to you. If you don't have Hercules, if you don't have Thing, I don't know if I could sit here and recommend that you do a Zone 25 push unless you regularly do so. And if you regularly do so, why are you watching this video? It's because you love me, I love you too. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. I'm pretty sure I covered everything I want to cover. Again, I just want to say all the champions here, they're just like solid champions for Incursions that can interact with the hacks nicely, right? You got like the champion for the final boss node. You got Angela, if you have Odin on your team, is busted in later rooms. You know, you got a lot of great things. Art Magneto for metal champions. Nimrod for some mutants, right? Tigra, Rintra when you need that neutralize, Spidey for buff immune, Human Torch for crazy mystics, Quicksilver for like Thing and crazy stuff like that, Zemo for Jessica Jones, Kingpin for whatever, Shang-Chi for whatever, Valkyrie if you really have no clue, you're just gonna hit the block all day, right? One more thing, one more piece of advice, use your star levels. Okay, you got, now assuming you have them, you got 6-star white mags, 5-star white mags, 4-star white mags, 3-star white mags, 6-star Heimdall, 5-star Heimdall, 4-star Heimdall, 3-star Heimdall, right? These are your support champions, your support synergy champions, your pre-fight champions. Get the best bang for your buck. Okay? You got multiple uses of those kind of champions. So, yeah. All right. I feel like we covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover here. That, in my opinion, is the best way to go back into Zone 25 in the cheapest and easiest way. The best champions to swap in and the best champions for main clear. Unfortunately, the main clear list is very, very small, but Zone 25 is no easy piece. So make sure you understand that going into it. Have a fun time if you do it. I believe in you. I think you're going to do a great job if you do it. That's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop your boy a like. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're going to do it. Let me know if you did it and all the other fun stuff. We'll see you around.